The 70-year-old was carried unconscious from this Adamstown house after it was engulfed by fire. He was revived by ambulance officers before being taken to the John Hunter Hospital. Late yesterday, police arrested a 40-year-old man, also from Adamstown. He was charged with attempted murder, setting fire with intent to kill, and maliciously inflicting grievous bodily harm. He was refused bail today and will reappear in Newcastle Court tomorrow. Meanwhile, a 1-year-old boy from Woodbury has been flown to hospital suffering a burnt back after the garage of his family home went up in flames. Neighbours were first at the scene.
We went over there and had buckets and hoses and just all pitched in and contained the fire until the fire brigade got here.
After initial fears the blaze would spread to neighbouring houses, fire crews and the local community combined to put it out. The child is in a satisfactory condition. Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The Mater Hospital has some of the country's best medical staff, but workers are desperately floundering, struggling to work in a situation they describe as critical. Newcastle Trades Hall Council has joined the fight to try and boost services to the Mater and is targeting politicians who have so far successfully sidestepped the issue. Health Minister Craig Knowles has yet to meet with Mater staff, and while Opposition Leader Kerry Chikarovsky and Opposition Health spokesperson Gillian Skinner have condemned his lack of action, both have failed to venture north of Sydney to visit the hospital.
And it really is a state issue and a state government issue. Public funding, public money comes from the state, and that's what we would like to see.
A public meeting will be held on the 2nd of next month to raise community support, with a rally also in the pipeline. At the heart of the matter, a claim by staff that the state government is starving the hospital of funds to encourage acceptance of a private partnership. Staff are refusing to rule out industrial action.
It is going to be an intense campaign, and there will be more things happening. More meetings, more information activities, various... I wouldn't like to rule anything in or out at this stage.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News. With attractions like these, it's easy to see why Maitland has over the years earned the title of being the state's heritage capital, but tourism operators are convinced the area's total story has never been told.
But we have to make sure that with all of the other product that we have now available, that we are able to have a number of stories that will encourage people to come and stay for a longer period of time.
A new vision for the area was today brainstormed at a local seminar, and tourism officials are hoping that selling the area as a central location will open up new opportunities.
We're very central, certainly, to the coastal areas as well, so we need to encourage people to come and experience all that we have and use Maitland as a central base.
A new tourism guide for the area will be designed later this month. Helen Kapalos, NBN News.
If Breakers Stadium has a favourite son, Bob Catlin is it. The big keeper's saves are now the stuff of club legend, and they're especially popular when made in front of what's now known as Bob Catlin Hill. The man himself can't think of a better ground on which to play his 300th game.
It is special. I think I'm about 29, so, you know, in the history of the NSL, that's not bad.
Not bad at all, for a player dropped by Sydney Olympic only 2 years ago.
I knew I still had something to offer. You know, I was lucky enough, Lee threw me a bit of a lifeline and brought me up here and put a bit of faith in me, and hopefully I've repaid him in part.
That payment will no doubt continue on Friday night against the Adelaide Force, a team the Breakers are determined to beat after that disappointing draw in round 8 when they were booed off the field.
And they went back to 11 against 9 and put the brick wall up, and we were a bit naive in handling that situation. So, you know, hopefully they'll keep all 11 on the park. Maybe that might be easy for us.
One player keener than most is Vasco Trpčevski, who returns to the starting 11 after weeks of watching from the bench.
It's been pretty hard, you know. Everyone wants to play in the first 11. Very hard, but yeah, it's time's come so I can perform.
Trpčevski replaces the suspended Travis Dodd, while either Greg Owens or Luke Tomic will fill the vacant reserves position.
Louise and Kylie Sweeney are getting used to performing in sweltering heat. After a week of scorching temperatures in Melbourne, Kylie was back in training today at the Waratah range, while older sister Louise rested an aggravated shoulder injury. The pair brought home a swag of medals from the junior championships, both achieving personal goals.
I got all 3 events that I wanted to win. I got target, field and clout, and I won the overall junior girl, which is what I basically went down for. And I made the selection for the state team and got voted in as captain, so I was really happy with this year.
The girls' parents also travel with them, Father Ray finding it hard to keep his cool while managing the state junior team.
We went through over 95 kilos of ice in 6 days of archery, just keeping kids cool, so it just gives you an idea of what the weather was like in Melbourne.
Yes, it's a very good family sport because you get to travel places as a family and you get to spend a lot of time together.
16-year-old Louise has now been invited to the World Juniors in France in August.
Newcastle's beaches were largely deserted today because everyone was cooling off in the ocean. As temperatures reached the mid to late 30s across the Hunter, thousands of holidaymakers chose the beach as a way of staying cool.
We knew it was going to be hot. We're coming all the way from Blacktown, so we decided to come all the way up here to spend the whole day here at the beach.
Yeah, it's really good. Real summer weather now.
Well, it's really nice and it's a bit better than the weather that we've had.
In Scone, the temperature soared to 38 degrees, sending locals in search of cool water. Meanwhile, the hot weather didn't help fire crews fighting a grass fire on University Drive. A truck driver brought down a power pole and live lines that set the dense undergrowth on fire. The fire was eventually controlled through backburning. Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
Nights back, Matthew Gidley is as popular behind the counter of his new butcher shop as he is on the field. Gidley has bought the business, teaming up with younger brother Kurt, who plays in the Knights Juniors and is also an apprentice butcher. The Ellamore Vale shop is a shrine to the blue and red, but its new owner says he won't be getting his hands dirty.
I think I'll be leaving the butcher to him. I want to try and keep all my fingers for the footy, so he can have that.
I'm trying to follow in his footsteps, but he's teaching me stuff along the way. I'll teach him stuff about me. He's going to teach me about football, so yeah, it'll be good.
Matthew is making a good recovery from groin surgery and expects to line up for round 1.
The boys are trying on Saturday up in Burleigh, and I'll give that one a miss because of the groin surgery. But yeah, I'm on track, and looking forward to the first game at Gosford. It should be good.
The squad has trained solidly this week under coach Warren Ryan and will leave tomorrow for Burleigh Heads. Among the new faces in the squad, rookie Justin Ryder from last year's Jersey Flegg lineup. And the boys will have to keep working hard if they want to sample any of Gidley's snags.
Maybe during the year I can put on a spit roast or something like that for the boys, as long as they're coming out and doing their bit.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
A young couple renovating their homestead suddenly had a lot more work to do just 30 seconds after the storm hit. Now they've got no roof and a line of trees lay blown over in their paddock. Neighbour Trevor Allen was astounded by the storm's ferocity.
Looking at the storm itself, it looked like there was something in the centre of it, like a hurricane.
Sitting in his house on the hill, Trevor copped the brunt of it.
I was halfway through the shave, as you can see, and then I just heard this roar and the windows started banging. I thought the whole house was going.
The building used to accommodate his staff looked like a truck drove through it. Corrugated iron was strewn through paddocks and wrapped around trees, leaving a trail of debris.
It sounded like a freight train coming, a real whistling, undescribable noise, and pretty frightening, I can tell you.
The storm didn't last long and its path of destruction wasn't very wide, but where it hit, it wreaked havoc, and the clean-up bill is likely to exceed $100,000. David McElwain, NBN News.
The future of the Mater Hospital has generated intense scepticism and concern amongst staff, who say the facility is in dire straits, severely underfunded and underutilised. Exasperated workers spoke out a week ago, claiming the situation is at crisis point, pleading with the state government to throw them a lifebuoy. The calls were met with silence until now, with Craig Knowles responding to pressure and ordering a halt on privatisation plans.
It acknowledges that health issues in the Hunter are important, and it also rules out a for-profit operator as a potential partner. It still raises the question of, will the government actually publicly fund the Mater, and I guess that's the question that's still unanswered.
Debbie Malcolm from the New South Wales Nurses Association says while they welcome the Minister's response, it's a far cry from promising funds from the state government purse.
We're pleased that he's halted talks, but that is all he has done. There is nothing concrete about looking at the problem of public funding for the Mater. There is a silence that is deafening on taking up the issue of state responsibility for public funding for our hospital.
Hunter Health's acting CEO Nigel Lyons says talks have already begun with Mater staff to discuss concerns about service issues, and more talks will be held next week with the return of Mater Board Chairman Brian McGuigan. Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
Lunch on the Gold Coast. Not a bad way to start the pre-season, but the Knights have a date with the Burleigh Bears tomorrow night. Two players who'll cut their teeth in the top grade are Clint Talon and Chad Dillinger, who have both earned a last-minute call-up with the team suffering another injury, this time to Matthew Johns.
I'd like to have a hit out, but, you know, that's sort of the way it goes. I'll probably just have to go into that first game just to shade rusty.
It's not the first time a hamstring has stalled Johns' pre-season, but it's not expected to stop him from starting the season.
If it was an important game this weekend, I would have played.
It leaves the team short on experienced backs, with Mark Hughes and Adam McDougall the only regulars lining up.
It's going to be good for the club in the long term, because there's a lot of young kids here that we're going to be able to give some experience to. So in the long term, I think it's beneficial for the club, but it's going to really make some of the older players such as myself stand up tomorrow night, so it's also going to be good for us personally.
One of those getting a chance is Adam's brother Ben.
It's a personal goal that we had to play together, so it should be good to have my brother out there. It's we can sort of play off each other, and it's something I'm looking forward to. He'll probably stick up for me if I get in any trouble.
Summer has well and truly arrived, with sunny skies and soaring temperatures enticing beachgoers to hit the surf and sand in droves. Newcastle Council lifeguards are rostered on from 7:30am until 5:30pm, but this week especially there's been big after-work crowds. Once the lifeguards pack up the flags, some board riders have been surfing into swimmers, raising safety concerns. Council is urging surfers to share the water, as well as allowing lifeguards to work overtime.
We usually leave that up to the lifeguards to determine what the demands of any particular beach are on a particular day. Obviously, with the recent warm weather, they are working some extra hours of an evening.
On Sundays, the responsibility of surf safety is handed over to the Surf Life Saving Clubs, whose volunteers patrol the beach. According to Council, that long-time arrangement has proved successful.
Historically, the Life Saving Association have been keen to maintain an involvement in providing public safety on the surf beaches. It provides training opportunities for their members.
Swimmers and surfers are urged to use common sense early mornings or late afternoons when the beaches aren't patrolled. Amanda Bolger, NBN News.
With their jobs lost and redundancy payments in doubt, there was a common feeling of despair at National Textiles yesterday.
I don't know what we're going to do. Just don't know.
The administrator says at best workers will get half of the $7 million in redundancy payments owing to them over the next 15 months. The union vowed to fight for more and called on workers to go to their politicians to get it. Legislation guaranteeing redundancy payments was proposed by the federal opposition after the government was forced to help the Oakdale coal mine meet its obligation to workers last year. Despite commitments by the government to implement its own plan, nothing has become law. Chief Executive Officer Derek Hodge blames successive federal governments for the failure of both National Textiles and the industry as a whole. He won't be holding his breath for an Oakdale-style rescue package.
Put it this way, I've written numbers of letters to ministers. Many more letters have been written by me than replies received, so I doubt I'll waste my time.
The winds of change are blowing along the lake shore at Belmont. The 16-footers club wants to build a 3-storey car park. Residents aren't impressed.
I'm worried day and night about losing my lake view. It's all we've got. Belmont's got nothing without it.
Almost 50 people turned up to protest across the road from the club this morning. They all shared similar concerns.
If they've got a big car park up there,
the same thing is, I don't think we'd be able to live here. I really don't. And we wouldn't be able to sell because who'd want to buy a house?
Belmont's 16 footers has 25,000 members, and at peak times its car park is full, creating traffic problems for the surrounding area. The proposed development will cost $6 million, but residents, who will now form a committee to continue the fight against the plan, say the club has other options.
They've got 2 spots over there where they could pull down to put their boats in there and make more car space, and it would be sufficient as far as we're concerned.
And Lake Macquarie councillors agree the residents have valid concerns about the height and size of the car park. It's got everything from history to thrills and spills. Newcastle's Maritime Festival is being hailed as a huge success, and not just for the boats on display.
Oh, I reckon in excess of $2 or $3 million. All the hotels in town are booked out, all the bed and breakfasts, there's not a room in the house. So it's going to have a great impact on the economy.
With big numbers coming from Sydney, the Hunter and Tamworth, a big attraction was one of the Navy's newest ships. The Mine Hunter was partially built in Newcastle, and it attracted 1,000 visitors in the first hour it was open.
It's a fantastic ship. It's built over at Australian Defence Industries at Carrington, and we've just taken it to sea for the first time on Thursday and Friday, and she's running really well.
And the festival has plenty on offer for tomorrow, with the wakeboarding and Formula 1 contest to be decided.
Come on down to the foreshore. It's plenty of action, plenty of fun, and thrills and spills.
But our principal aim at the moment is to keep the hospital as a public hospital available for anyone to come to, irrespective of their ability to pay, but based on their need to have treatment.
A packed Pizzey Park and the hometown crowd had every right to cheer early, with the Bears over in the first few minutes. While an injured Andrew Johns wasn't there, there were some who one day hoped to fill his jumper. However, the man who did last night played the perfect cameo performance. Justin Holbrook leading the way, setting up new recruit Dave Fairley for his first try Knights colours. Holbrook was making it a habit a few minutes later, and he put Justin Ryder over in the teenagers' top grade debut. And when Danny Medeiros went on a hit and spin, Newcastle held a 14-6 lead at the main break. Adam McDougall had a great game in his first appearance at fullback. But Burleigh bounced back with 2 tries in quick succession, showing up some rusty Newcastle defence, the home side taking an 18-14 lead. But in the last quarter, it was all Newcastle, with 3 tries in the final term sealing a 30-18 win. This one to McDougall, capping off a fine game for the winger come fullback. The flag gave it away. A stiff southerly blew across Belmont and blew out scorecards. After a course record 67 yesterday, Carly Butler dropped 3 shots in her first 2 holes and never made it up. One-time leader Nikki Campbell didn't escape either. After finding trees, things just got worse for the Royal Canberra-based teenager as her run for the title was beached, shooting 11 over. Heading into today's round, a one-shot leader, Rebecca Coakley, couldn't continue her form. Dogged by bogeys, the South Australian finished 6 over. It came down to who could hold their game together, with the fast-finishing Joanna Wally storming home and actually grabbing the lead with 5 holes to play. But Gold Coast's Rebecca Stevenson showed why she's Australia's #1 amateur. After dropping a few shots early, a great back nine had her heading into the clubhouse a 4-shot winner with an even par round. And with plans to turn pro at the end of the year, it may be the last time she plays the prestigious amateur event. The National Supercross Series is always hotly contested, but these guys still know how to have a little fun. If you thought that was good, they don't come much better than this. A visit by the Westback chopper to pick up some injured riders brought most back to earth. But some didn't move at all early in the 125cc final as the jostle for position caught more than one. One of those who did, Jono Porter, the Hunter speedster, blasting away in the 125 final on his Suzuki to win. The feature 250cc was another great result for Hunter riders, with Curry whiz kid Chad Reed in great form as the new lead rider for Yamaha. The 17-year-old showed promise last season, but on the weekend he signalled he's destined for bigger and better things, taking the opening round of the National Series from defending champion Michael Burns. To the natural form of horsepower, and the Maitland Intercity Pakes final was a finish to remember. Over the closing stages of the $20,000 race, the Sydney-trained Candy Rama held the rails run, able to just hold off the fast-finishing favourite Franco Conquest. There wasn't much more than a nose in it, but Candy Rama got the money.
As far as assaults and robberies go, Civic Park is a major hotspot. Over recent weeks, police have stepped up patrols in the area, as well as coordinating special operations to try and identify the gang which is attacking men and women at random.
The situation is that I will not allow anyone to control the streets and behave in an antisocial manner. And the message is, if they want to behave this way, then we will deal with them.
Civic Park by day is a haven of relaxation and serenity, and while it's reasonably safe to stand here in broad daylight, anyone who ventures into the park after dark is putting themselves at risk. Dan Peters lives nearby and says drunk teenagers hunt in packs, terrifying and harassing anyone within earshot.
Pretty scary, they're only 14, 15-year-olds, but when they're sort of a group of them together, like I said, it's pretty intimidating.
The victims of the most recent attack told police it was a group of Aboriginal youth who set upon them. A local elder says if it proves to be the case, action will be taken, but maintains violence is a community problem, not a racial issue.
I've got no information to say that there are Aboriginal kids in that area causing problem, but we'll certainly do some investigation to see whether or not that's true.
Amanda Bolger, NBN News. It was very much a case of being in the firing line for representatives from Mission Australia and the Department of Community Services today. A meeting was held to gauge support for the plan to replace Proclaimed Place with an accommodation support service. So far, there's plenty of scepticism, anger and concern that while it may be a good long-term plan, it leaves those with immediate needs out in the cold. Mission Australia says the new plan involves housing homeless people in scattered bedsits rather than one refuge, but concedes it will be a difficult transitional period when Proclaimed Place closes next month. However, the organisation is adamant the revamped program will prove beneficial in the long term.
Yes, certainly they won't be in the streets of the CBD of Newcastle. They'll be spread in different parts of Newcastle, but hopefully in the long run they'll be able to establish their own community contacts and things like that.
But if they don't have a focal point, which they've had up till now, a place they know is